I am so excited for this. Welcome, Dr. Jac.
Thank you.
I'm so grateful for social media. Like, if it weren't for social media, we probably never would have been connected, which is just insane. So I'm so excited for my audience to learn about you, for our networks just to get connected. I know that we just don't meet people by accident. So we're going to keep this short and sweet, but I want to introduce you to my people because my people are going to be obsessed with you. So few quick things I want people to know about you. And then I'm going to ask you a few questions because you are an expert in a field that a lot of people might be shy to talk about. And we're going to go there today.
Let's go.
Okay, so I want to start with a little icebreaker. So Dr. Jac, can you tell me something that maybe like most people don't know about you? Like, what's something that people don't know?
So something that people don't know is that when I was in high school, I took my dad on a high-speed chase in his own car.
What, with him in the car? Or
no, he was following me. I was driving his car.
Oh my God, that's a good one. I need to hear more about that story later. Okay, and Dr. Jac, will you just briefly share a little bit about like your upbringing, where you grew up? Like, give us a little background on who Dr. Jac is.
Yeah, so I was born in New York. My family's from New York. They migrated to Florida like when I was younger. And so I grew up in Orlando, Florida. So I very much am like, love the theme parks, did all the things, worked at all the theme parks. My high school was actually right across the street from Universal Studios. And I grew up with both my mom and my dad, and my parents met in prison. And they met in prison, right? That's typically how people respond. My dad was a correctional sergeant and my mom was a mental health counselor. And so, yeah, and that was actually one of my first therapy jobs. I worked in a prison as well. And so definitely grew up from like a correctional background in terms of my parents. So my dad was kind of like, you know, strict in a disciplinarian. And yeah, so that's kind of like how I grew up. And then I went to college in Tallahassee, Florida, Florida A&M University. I'm a proud Rattler. And then from there decided that I wanted to be a psychologist. I went there with the intent of becoming a medical doctor. And after I failed my first science class, I decided psychology was a better fit for me. I love my psychology class.
Wow. Okay. And then just so I should have said this at the beginning, but I'll put it in the caption, everything. So now what do you do? Like, what's your title now?
Yes. So I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. I'm also an intimacy and relationship coach.
So cool. You are such a badass. Okay. And last question before we get into like the real questions. I want to hear something like maybe kind of vulnerable about you that maybe most people don't know. And I feel like vulnerability is key to lead with because it kind of breaks down those walls. And then people feel like, okay, I can relate to that. And so I know we chatted a little bit the other day, but something like, I'll go first. So something for me, it's easy to look at my life now and be like, from the outside, like, oh, perfect family, happy, all the things, but there's a road to get here. Right. And so we were so excited to become parents, and our first pregnancy ended in a miscarriage, and that was just like devastating. And so when something gets taken away from you, you want it a million times over. So that was like a hard thing that happened on our journey, and now we do have our beautiful little girl, but it didn't happen on the first try. So I would love for you to share with the audience maybe something vulnerable that's happened in your past.
Yeah, you know, Sandy, I really appreciate you sharing that. And one of the things that actually created my intimacy coaching business was my own experience with miscarriage. I am not shy about sharing that I've always really had a high sex drive. And after my miscarriage, my sex life completely changed. My relationship with my body completely changed. I experienced depression. I experienced a lot of anxiety around having sex and getting pregnant again and the fear of miscarrying again. So I really love that, you know, you in a very vulnerable way share that piece, because I feel like so many women keep that silent. And I have within my intimacy coaching practice, specialize in helping women who have struggled with fertility or have experienced miscarriages, and to really help them to continue to like build their intimacy afterwards, because that is where my husband and I struggled the most and have made tremendous progress in our own lives regarding sex and intimacy.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I know we bonded over that when we briefly connected the other day, and I think it's something I didn't even that wasn't even on my radar that was a possibility when we got pregnant. Like you hear about miscarriages, but I was like, I'm healthy. Like I honestly thought I didn't know how common it was. It's actually so common, and so many women go through that, and people don't really talk about it. So thank you for opening that space. Okay, so I have a couple notes here that I'm referencing because I was intentional with these questions. And this does feel vulnerable because although my husband and I, Wade and I, we share our lives and, we love being transparent, talking about sex, it just feels vulnerable. But we're in this transitionary state now that we are new parents, sex is different as parents and postpartum. So I want to ask you a couple questions. And for everyone listening, if you've been following along with the 10 days of happiness, I'm bringing in Dr. Jac at the end of this. She's going to be one of the surprise experts on our panel when we do the live Zoom webinar. And this is a little teaser of some of the stuff that you can learn from her. She's incredible. So the first thing I want to ask you, Dr. Jac, many women share experiencing a decreased libido after having children. I know that I certainly have.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yes, such an excellent question. So this is what the research shows. And you would think that there's a lot of other factors, right? So there's hormones, there's just change in lifestyle, et cetera. In a study in 2017, 75% of women reported that it was because they were too tired, right? And biologically speaking, women and men respond to feeling tired differently. And it's almost like, think about, biologically speaking, a man trying to have an erection at the same time while he's peeing. That's how it feels for women when they're tired and they're trying to feel sexually aroused or desired. It's really, really difficult. And so what a lot of the women that come to me share is that I am so tired. I'm so touched out, right? I have the baby that's touching on me all of the time. I have, the kids that, want to hug mommy, and I don't have any more to pour out. Some of the additional reasons are stress, right? Hormone changes. And another reason that I think people don't oftentimes think about is lack of emotional connection. A lot of times for many women, there's a need for emotional connection to happen first. And if that doesn't feel like it's building, it's really hard to turn up the dial when it comes to the physical connection and the physical intimacy.
I could totally see that. Okay. I feel like we could do so much deeper diving there, but we'll just leave that there.
Yeah. We're gonna go deeper later.
Okay. My second question I have is, how can a lack of sexual desire impact relationships?
Really good question. So what typically happens in many relationships is there's usually one partner that has a higher sexual desire than the other partner. So one person has a higher, one person has a lower. So there's typically a discrepancy in many relationships. And what can happen is, because of cultural norms, there's this idea that if you're the partner with the lower desire, you should feel bad about that, right? You should feel shame. You should want sex more. And this actually adds more pressure and more stress to the overall situation. So it can become feelings of guilt can then come up for the individual who has the lower desire. And then the person who has the higher desire oftentimes feels really unwanted, right? If they are receiving no all the time or not today, it can start to feel like rejection, personal rejection. Even though they may not necessarily be rejecting a partner, they're rejecting the sex because their body isn't open for it at that time. And it can create this dynamic where one partner is feeling like, I don't feel desired, I don't feel wanted by my partner. The other partner, the lower desire partner, can then feel like, I should be wanting sex more and I'm broken. And then this dynamic, when it's not talked about, when there's not intentional conversation around how to navigate those conversations in a safe and healthy way, a lot of times there's avoidance, there's a lot that's not said, and there's resentment that's built as a result of that.
Wow. And I wonder too, I feel like that could change, because I feel like in my marriage, there's been times when I desire him more, and then there's times when he desires me more. So it kind of goes in waves too, right?
It does, absolutely. And sometimes it will change who's the higher desire partner. Those dynamics will change as the course of the relationship changes, as stressors may increase or decrease. So the important thing is the conversation piece. I often say conversation is two things when it comes to sex. It's liberation and it's lubrication. The more that you're talking about sex, the more that you are really understanding what it is that you need and what it is that your partner needs. And it creates that safety to be able to share in a way that is really, really vulnerable, but that increases that emotional connectedness that makes sex so much better.
Wow, I love that. Thank you for that. Okay, and then I'm gonna ask you one more and then we'll keep the rest for our live webinar.
Okay.
How does sexual confidence impact our sex lives?
This is a good question. Okay, so one, and I say this often, sex starts in the mind. The brain is the biggest sex organ, right? And so how we feel about ourselves and the beliefs that we have about ourselves and how we're showing up as a sexual person totally impacts sex. When you look at the research, one of the things that they say that makes sex most satisfying is your enthusiasm. It's hard to show up enthusiastically if you do not feel confident, right?
Yeah.
And so it really is important to build that internal self-confidence, not to necessarily look for it from your partner, because a lot of times what we can do is look for those external cues to help us to feel confident. When really it is, how do we feel about ourselves? What are the things that we're personally doing to show up more confidently? Like it could be just pausing and putting on lip gloss before you get on a Zoom call. Like that may make you show up differently, right? But really getting intentional about discovering for ourselves, where do I feel most confident in my life? And how can I translate some of those actions and some of those ways that I take care of myself into my sexual relationship? So it is everything. It is really, really important. And a partner can pick up on when you're showing up confidently and when you're not. And you also pick up on that energy as well. And you have so much more pleasure and opportunities to surrender and relax when you're feeling confident. So it's a game changer to sex.
Wow. I'm so intrigued by you. Thank you so much for your time, for sharing all that. For everyone watching and listening, you're going to learn so much from Dr. Jac. Follow her Instagram page. I found her from a reel that went viral that had 2 million follows that was all about like basically that feeling when you promised your husband that you're going to give him oral and then it's time to do it and you don't want to. And it was hilarious. And I was like, wow, this woman is so brave to post something like this. But I was like, this is hilarious because it's freaking true.
Yes.
So you are amazing. Can you tell everyone, how can they find you? How can they connect with you?
Yes, absolutely. So I am most active on Instagram. So you can follow me there at Dr.Jac, PhD. So that's DRJAC, PhD. You can also find me on my website. So that is drjac.co. So drjac.co. And I offer a guide to 5 ways to have better sex. So if you visit my website, you can download that guide, and then that will have you be a part of my community. I send out weekly emails giving tips and strategies on how to have conversations about sex, how to find pleasure in your body, and how to increase your overall desire. So I would love to stay in good connection with you. And yeah, I'm really excited about, partnering with you soon and being able to value you to those regarding intimacy and sex.
You're the best. Thank you again so much for your time. Time is the greatest asset that we have. So you carving out time to do this and partner with me, I feel like you and we're going to have lots of fun in the future. I'm excited to meet you in person at some point.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Sandy. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. All right. We'll see you next week on the live. Bye.